As far back as I can remember, I dreamt of a normal life. A life filled with normal things. A life where monsters don't live in closets or under the bed. A life where ghosts aren't real. I just wanted to be normal. But that didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be. Since my early 20s, I have experienced profound paranormal events that would change my life. Extreme poltergeist activity, living amongst those that have departed this earth in ways unimaginable. It has affected my loved ones and children with no end in sight. I could hear things, see things, and feel things not of this world. I asked myself if this was a gift or a curse. With the help of my mother and close friends, I emerged a paranormal investigator. Since 2013, I have been on a relentless journey to learn about the paranormal. This is my time to share my journey with you. Welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. Hello and welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. I'm your friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown, and we are presenting episode 53 of my Paranormal Soapbox. And we're doing the freestyle with Q&A. 2 hours of that via the request of Patreons and viewers, just like you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Please feel free to like, comment, keep it classy, share the video. Please, interact with each other, ask questions. This is the show to do it. It could go down any rabbit hole. It can go down any road. It doesn't necessarily have to be paranormal, but it is a paranormal platform. So as long as the questions or the roads are classy and, not, too trashy, we'll go there. Right. So as you can see, Jessica's not with us tonight. I got to change the name to Derek Schreiner real quick. Okay. I think I pronounced... Nope, I didn't spell it right. Sorry, Derek. H. No. There we go. So there you go, guys. Are you guys ready for tonight's show? Can you do the 2 hours? All right. Okay. Derek, are you ready, buddy?
I've been ready.
All right. As you can see, Derek has a sling on his arm, and we'll talk about that tonight. It's kind of hard to ignore. I see everybody chiming in. Thanks for joining us. I see Josh there. We'll shout you out. Here after a few minutes, we'll shout everybody out. Make the goal of this show is to make everybody feel part of the live stream, to build and engage the community. This show in particular, we kind of try to open up a little bit, express our personality and character a little bit more. We want you guys to get to know us. We with the other people in the chat room, and we'll shout you out. We'll read off all your names. So, if you haven't noticed, we still haven't released episode 1 for the new YouTube series, and that's because I've been extremely busy with my kids' sports. My 13-year-old Aowen, she's on 2 softball teams right now, and she got done with 7th grade softball, and then she went right into rec, and then she just recently been asked to join a travel team. So she's on 2 teams right now, and she just had her first tournament with the Bell City Ringers, and that's a USSSA tournament team, so that's pretty competitive. She played 4 games this weekend, and then she played a game last night. So she's played 5 games in the last 3 days, and she plays another game later on this week. So my 6-year-old, he plays t-ball, or coach's pitch now, and they rescheduled his game from last night to tonight, so I had to miss his game tonight because I had already scheduled this, and I don't have time to reschedule it. So I hope you guys appreciate me and Derek and Missy for putting this up there, because we really we know you guys like the show. So That's what's been up with me. It will be out. There's only a few shots that I need to get that I feel like I need for the segment that introduces the new team and everything. I'm not going to settle just for what I have. I'm just going to wait till I have time to shoot it and then release it. I have everything that I need except for that one thing for the first 2 episodes. So I'm going to quickly edit those and release them back to back. So I appreciate your patience with that. They will be coming out. And we'll be at Madison Seminary later next month. So there's going to be a gap, thankfully. Hopefully Derek can have time to heal. What you guys kind of want to give everybody an update with what's going on? I know Derek obviously is going to talk about his oopsie, but let's see. I mean, besides Derek's oopsie, what's been going on?
Meditating a lot, grounding a lot. Detoxing, trying to stay out of my head.
How's that going for you?
It's been going. I take 1 step forward, 2 steps back sometimes, but it's going good.
What sets you back?
Could be anything from a comment someone made that I didn't think that I thought was just a little off key or whatever.
So social media comments will set you off?
No, not social media comments. Like from someone that I know, like
family
that I converse with on. Yeah.
That will definitely do it. Well, I'm glad that you're trying to do better for yourself, and that's awesome. And I've noticed that you've been more consistent with your mood and your, trying to stay upbeat and positive, and I like that. That's good.
I'm working on it.
Great. Me too.
I'm doing all the things you told me to do.
That's right. You got to listen. So, Derek, your life sucks. Doesn't it?
Nah, it don't suck.
He has someone give him a bath every night. How could that suck?
I get sponge bath.
So
all kinds of shit. My mommy cut up my steak.
Yeah, you can't use your arms, so Missy has to wash your genitals for you.
Pretty much. I can't do everything one-handed. I can do like half my body, and it's like, this is some bullshit. I can't even put on deodorant. I can't open a pill bottle. I can't open a beer. That's a bunch of shit.
You can't open a beer with one hand?
Not the ones that I got. I bought the special edition twist tops like a dumbass. And I'm like, how am I going to open this?
You need one of those vices. You put your beer in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be able to put the beer in the vice to be able to use one hand.
Right. So it's like, this is some crap.
Yeah. You're probably going to be like that for a good while.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't want to be like this for a while. It's just the way things are going right now. It's getting drug out a little bit longer than I wanted it to. And I told him yesterday, and then I told him today when I got back. We made a couple phone calls and talked to some people in the offices, and then me and my boss got to talking. I told him, I said, look, it's pretty cut and dry. The longer they drag their feet getting everything looked at and taken care of, the longer I'm going to be down and can't do anything. Mm-hmm. So, it's hurting them just as bad as it is me. But on the other hand, they're paying me to come to work and do nothing. So, I ain't hit a lick, still making a paycheck.
Yeah, that's the bright side of it. So real quick, since Paul's on here, he'll be excited to know that we have acquired our first MagCheck 95 EMF sensor for the RVPR setup, and we'll keep Paul updated. You have the meter that came with it. He got it for $70 with the meter on eBay. So that's
$60.
$60. I mean, that's a killer deal.
It was a best offer. There's the sensor.
Mm-hmm. So I gave him the links for the RVPR, and the meter right there, we're going to use a splitter to see if we can measure the EMF with that meter while we're getting the data and going into the recorder so we can hear it alongside any audio anomalies that we get. And our plan is to get an oscilloscope eventually. If this setup looks like it's going to work with the splitter, we're going to get an oscope and start more accurately, more efficiently analyzing the EMF, which is one of our goals. And another thing that we haven't released yet that we need to release yet is an update to our tutorial on that. I know Paul Browning has a really good tutorial with a dynamic mic, but we have, it's somewhat different, and I want to get updated tutorials for all that, and hopefully will come this summer sometime. I think the next time I'm over there at Derek and Missy's, I'll try to shoot some B-roll of it, and I'm going to try to do it to where I don't have to borrow his full RVPR setup. I don't know. We'll talk about how we can do that. We may just do a live tech talk.
That'd be cool.
So I don't have to edit a whole tutorial.
Right.
There's pros and cons to that. I don't have to do so much work, but the people watching it have to watch more video to get the information.
Yeah. And they take a lot of notes.
Yeah, but if they're watching live, they can interact with us. So there's just pros and cons to that.
Right.
Everybody wants to know what he did to his arm.
Yeah, he didn't explain that.
No. It wasn't a whole lot that I did, to be honest with you. My job it requires a lot of cleaning on a daily basis. I work in the food industry, I guess is what it's considered, and we have to do a lot of cleaning with chemicals, water, stuff like that. Well, we had cleaned. One of my other operators had cleaned while I was at break. I came back from break, and we had finished. We called over to have them come, and they do a weekly micro swab for any type of microorganisms. They test everything to make sure that everything in our room is completely clean from top to bottom, and there's nothing growing in there that could get people sick. Well, we failed our initial swab, which there's multiple things that can make it fail. You can fail because you've got chemicals still left, residue left on something. You can fail because there's product left on something, which was the case when this happened. Well, I looked up in the equipment and there was still product stuck in there. So I had to get up in there with a scrub brush to clean it. The problem is I'm about 2 inches too short to get the scrub brush where I needed to get it. So I climbed up on a rail that's about a foot off the ground. And I put 1 foot up, and I've done this a million times. I do it a million times a week. And I put my 1 foot up, and I reached across my body with my left arm and grabbed a hold of the top rail to steady myself to get that brush in there and start scrubbing. And I started to lose my grip. And when I started to lose my grip, I went to re-grip, and all my weight pulled on my arm, and it pulled it straight out. And the only thing that I could describe to him when it happened was I felt a sharp pain, and then I felt the muscle in my forearm ripple like an ocean wave. And then I fell to the ground on my knees, and my arm drew up into my chest, and I couldn't straighten it out. And it's been that way ever since last Wednesday.
So the injury occurred in your forearm.
It was somewhere in between my bicep and my forearm.
Because the picture you showed me, it almost looked like you were like flexing your bicep really hard.
And that's, my bicep is stuck like that.
The way it
my
looks,
pain is in my forearm.
The way it looks is like the tendon or the muscle popped like right here, and it's bunched up right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got
that's
like
bad, dude.
I got like a roll in the crease of my arm instead of having just skin there. You're
going to need surgery.
And that's kind of what we're thinking. The doctor that I saw at the urgent care, he was really adamant at telling me that he was pretty sure that I tore something. He just didn't know what I tore. Then I had to go back and see him again, and he said, "Yeah, I'm positive you tore something. I just don't know what it is." So, then he was like, "Well, you're going to go see an orthopedic surgeon because this is well beyond my scope of expertise."
That's never good when they say that.
No, here I'll stand up.
Well, if it's going to hurt, don't do it.
Oh, it don't hurt. Let's see if I
that's
can get a good picture of it. What's that? Yeah, I've been trying to keep it.
Oh my God, look at it, dude.
Yeah, see my biceps stuck like that? And I don't know if you can see down in the crease of my arm there.
Yeah, it's all wrinkled up.
Yeah, it's been like that ever since this happened.
That I've never seen anything like that.
I've never felt anything like that. I don't want to feel like that again because that was the weirdest feeling ever, to feel your muscle just ripple. It was like this. And it was like, ugh. I'm all down for cool shit until it's me, and then it's like, that wasn't cool.
Yeah, you won't be able to do shit until after you have surgery, and then you'll have at least 6 months after that.
Right. Well, see, the guys at work were laughing. They were kind of laughing at me and cutting up after everything happened because they were like, "Man, see, when it happened, I was on my knees on the ground, and I had this scrub brush still in my fucking hand. And I'm on my knees, and I'm like, oh, man, this is bad. I mean, this was like worse than falling in the hole bad. That's how bad this was. And I'm laying there, and one of the guys walks by the room, and I hold the brush up, and I waved at him with the brush. I was like, what's up? And he walked on by. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to get back up, and I'm going to clean this real quick before anybody knows what happened, because I thought I'd be okay. Well, I stood up, and I couldn't move my arm, and I was like, man, I'm screwed. So I walked out of the room, and my other operator was out on the computer, and I just kind of nonchalantly walked up to him, and I said, hey, man, I need you to do me a favor. And he's like, what's that? I said, I need you to take your scrub brush. You need to go in there. You need to clean that piece of equipment real quick so that they can re-swab it. I got to go get the boss. I hurt myself. It's not good. And he was like, okay. And I just walked away. And I went around the corner. My boss was in the other rooms. And I opened the door and I said, hey, come down here. And he's like, okay, hold on a minute. I said, no, you need to come down here now. And he started walking, and he got about halfway there. And I said, dude, I hurt myself. It's really bad. And he said, what do you mean you hurt yourself? I said, I screwed my arm up. It's not good. And I lifted my shirt up, and he said, Jesus Christ. He said, dude, we got to go to the doctor. And everybody was like, I can't believe you were so calm. You acted like nothing was going on. You were like, here, man, take this brush, clean this shit. I hurt myself. I'm going to the hospital. I'm like, it just it wasn't a big deal.
They didn't know. They just didn't know.
They could not believe how calm I was. Until I got to the damn doctor's office, and he started playing with it. And I was like, dude, you push on that one more time, and I'm going to black both your eyes.
So there's our situation. Our lead tech guy / camera guy / paranormal investigator / whatever I need I ask Derek to do guy has one less arm.
But now your psychic dreamer / investigator used to do it.
Well, yeah, well, we'll get to see to what extent, what you can do. Now, I'm not too worried about you operating the camera during the investigations. We'll just put it on autofocus and have you point it in the direction I tell you to point it and just deal with that.
He can put the rig on. I can get the rig on
I do not want him to do that. He's not doing it. No way.
I'll put the chest harness on you, and you can do the GoPro.
He's just going to be... He'll have POV cameras, and that's it. He's not operating any equipment other than that. You don't understand. I want you to immobilize one of your arms and then try to run a camera. No, it's not going to happen.
But here's the thing. I've still got 2 legs, so once I get that camera rig on, which one of you is going to catch me to take it off?
Just think about falling, or you know what I'm saying? I'm just... No.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
No.
I'd laugh at myself.
It's not going to happen. Let's go ahead and do the shout outs and get those done. And we'll continue on with what the fuck we're going to do.
Okay. I have Jamie Hunt. I have Paul Browning. I have Sandy Griffith. I have Valerie Wright. I have Josh Bender. I have Daniel Everson. I have Bill Davis. The paranormal reporter, of course. I have Becky Compton, and I have Amanda Thompson.
Nice. I haven't seen any questions yet. I've been looking.
No, we're just talking about Derek.
Okay. On YouTube, I've got Truth Paranormal, which is Joe. Dainty Paranormal, Sam Thomas, John Cool, Marilyn is on. Supernatural Lost Adventures is on. The only thing that I've got here is everybody saying glad that I'm okay, which for now, yes, I'm okay. Mothman Historian just jumped on and said hello. That's the first time I've seen him on in a while.
Yeah, he jumps on once every few months just to make sure that we're still alive.
Still kicking.
Still breathing.
Yeah. Joe did chime in and say if we needed an extra body from Madison Seminary, he might be able to help out. He can at least run a camera.
Okay, Joe. June 22nd. Be there at 5 p.m. or B Square.
And you get to see 2 hungry chicks ready to eat.
Well, is that something that you want to talk about too? That should, they might find that interesting. I would like to see what they think about that.
Sure, let's do it.
So, what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? Justin is making us go vegan, completely vegan and gluten-free for 14 days.
Yep.
Leading up to the investigation. And
just the psychics.
Just the 2 psychics, the 2 women. And we have to fast for 24 hours.
Yep.
Before the investigation.
And why is that?
It's supposed to enhance your psychic abilities.
Are you excited about that?
It really doesn't make any difference to me. I do that on a daily basis anyway.
No,
Most
you don't.
of it.
No, you don't. It won't be as bad as you think it is. Then the reason why I want you to start 2 weeks prior is, so it won't be so bad to do the fasting the 24 hours before, because you'll be already detoxed pretty good by then. You'll be in ketosis. You should be in ketosis by then, unless you're eating a lot of carbs through the vegan diet, which I don't think you will be, but you could eat a lot of beans or something, or taking a lot of complex carbohydrates through the vegetables and stuff. But I've multiple sources that I've read state that if you want to enhance the third eye, you got to go completely vegan. And there's a lot of belief, especially in Eastern religions and ways of life, fasting, and even Middle Eastern. Fasting is a way to increase your spiritual, senses and connection.
Michael Hoover just jumped on. I'm sorry. Josh Bender said, "I'm glad I'm not psychic." Kelly McConkey said, "I would die," and Daniel Everson said, "I wouldn't make it."
I'm pretty sure that you can do it. I don't know how well Jess will do it, because I don't think she's done anything like that before. I could be wrong, though.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not going to be that hard for me. Especially since I can have French fries.
Yeah, you can have French fries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, trust me, I've already done my research. I'm good.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of carbs, so you probably won't go into ketosis that way.
Amanda Thompson said meditation also works and you get to eat.
Yep, she meditates all the time anyway. I got her doing that on a regular basis. Do you want to talk about what you do on a normal basis?
Me?
Yeah.
I usually in the mornings I'll go as he told me to do, go as far away from any EMF as I can get. And
well, speaking of EMF, what's around your neck?
my little thingy you told me to get to block the EMF.
Explain it a little bit more than that.
I don't know what it's called.
That's an orgone necklace. I suggested that you got an orgone necklace. This is a little bit different than orgonite. That is actually metal rings encased in resin.
There's an orgonite in it. There's 2 of them in it.
Oh, is there? Can you hold it up close to the camera?
Yeah. I gotta take it off.
I don't know if you have autofocus on or not. It's not autofocusing. Yeah, it's blurry. Oh, there we go. Hold it there. Hold it still. Yeah, that's cool. It does have orgonite in it. So that blocks EMF. And that's supposed to increase your health and, increase your ability to not receive interference metaphysically.
Don't get it stuck.
Did you get it tingled up in quartz? That's funny. So, Derek, you've tested the pendant, right?
Did she go?
Yes, I have. I tested it with the old sensor I was using, the EVP mic from Digital Dowsing. I tested it with the MagCheck 95 today, and it actually worked using this multimeter. It drew down. It actually was drawing down from 40 with the door closed on my breaker box. I was reading. I had it set at 200. Let me look here. 200 milligauss was what the switch was set to. I was reading 40.2, and it drew it all the way down to 20.2 at one point. And then once we removed it, it jumped it back up to 40 something. We've used the REM pod, the millimeter with the REM pod attachment on it, and just to check the EMF field around it, and had it draw down from a 16 all the way down to zeros, and then pulled the pendant away and got it back up to a 16 on a stove. So, it seems to work. I mean, it works in a small field because it's a small pendant, so it doesn't cover a super wide area. So if you're doing, say, a really heavily EMF attracted area where you got a lot of wires running, a lot of circuits going, say an industrial site, it's not going to really shield out everything. It's going to shield out a portion, which more than likely is going to be directly in front of it and not so much side to side. It's really cool. I mean, I was shocked that it actually did that. I didn't think it would.
Yeah, I was skeptical too, and then I seen a crap ton of videos of people testing it with various meters, and I'm like, it's worth the small amount of money for, that wasn't very expensive. I mean, it's worth testing.
Right.
Sandy Griffiths said Shungite will block it too.
Okay.
So I do need more crystals. You lied to me, Justin.
Well, I don't freaking know everything. Let's Google it.
Okay. Google it.
How does she spell it again? SHUNGITE?
Yep.
Look at a necklace. Left monitor.
Boss Man Historian had a question.
Okay, give me just 1 second. I just want to look this up real quick. Amazon.com has it. Here's some pendants. Here, we'll take a look at this link just so you guys can take a look at it after the show if you're interested. Pendant necklace, guaranteed authentic Russian natural healing stone. Physical effects. Shungite has beneficial physical effects as an anti-inflammatory, anti-allergen, antioxidant absorber of negative substances. The effects are most effective. That's a weird sentence structure. When drinking Shungite water, and are related to the fullerness from Shungite. Spiritual and emotional healing said to boost energy levels, relieve anxiety and stress. Meditating with shungite is each hand can be a very powerful healing experience. Interesting, very interesting. So yeah, we'll have to look into that. Okay, go ahead with Mothman's question.
Mothman historian asks, question: if a spirit knocks on a wall in a haunted house and no one is around to hear it, does it make a noise?
So, relating to the riddle, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there, does it make a noise?
Right.
It's a really good question. I think about it all the time. And to answer your question, I believe that there is a human living agent to most all paranormal phenomena that I have observed or researched or read about. If you set up cameras and meters and equipment in a completely abandoned place, I have not seen anything yet. Now, in theory, residual stuff can occur. I just haven't seen it. One of the most popular things that you see nowadays is live streaming at haunted locations with no one there. Now, I have not seen anything on those, or I haven't seen any of those clipped. So, I think if you're not there, if there's not some conscious living element or agent in the equation, it doesn't happen. What do you think, Derek?
I was kind of thinking, along the lines of the same thing. If you're not there, then, technically, I don't think that, I think it could probably be knocking on a wall. You could be having all kinds of spiritual stuff happening when you're not at a location, or when, say it's an abandoned building. You could have all kinds of paranormal activity going on. But if nobody is there to experience it, I don't think the sound element comes into effect, because the sound element and the visual element may still be there, but without, like you said, human interaction, you don't have the sound element. Because who's to say that when a spirit knocks on a wall or makes a noise, or you get a disembodied voice, that the frequency that the spirit is playing on is only audible to the human ear, or
right.
The piece of equipment being used at the time. So there's a very good possibility that, okay, there's a spirit, it's knocking on a wall, but there's no sound traveling out of that location because there's nobody there to pick up that frequency with a piece of equipment or their senses.
Well, people are saying in the chat, obviously you leave recording equipment there. And I have picked up things, knocks. The problem with knocks is you can't validate it.
Right.
EVP is another thing. Disembodied voice is another thing. So I do believe that disembodied voices can happen when you're not there. I do believe that you can get EVP when you're not there. But
it's hard to validate.
Yeah, well, if you have the right equipment, you can do a fairly good job if you set up an RVPR in there, or something similar to that, and you can prove an anomaly. You can't prove it's a ghost, you can't prove it's a spirit, but you can prove anomaly. Then right. You're going down the right road of seeing if there's something that you can classify as paranormal or unexplained. But I don't know. That's an interesting question, but I think that most phenomena has a living agent, and there needs to be a living agent involved.
John Cool just asked a really good question.
Go ahead.
If EMF is part of a psychic's way to communicate, then wouldn't the medallion rule out that ability or ruin that ability?
There's no reason for me to believe that EMF has anything to do with it, psychic ability. If he has information or data to back that up, I would love to see it. But I think the frequencies and vibrations in that field of energy, which is not detectable, by EMF at all, I believe it's a completely different vibrating field of physics that we're not yet can detect or understand.
But some psychics give off their own EMF.
That's debatable. I think they can interfere with equipment,
Right.
causing interference, but I have not seen conclusive data to be convinced that it's electromagnetic fields.
Gotcha.
So then, how would on that note, how would we classify or explain what happens when, like, with Missy, when you put wireless mics on her, EMF meters near her, and how we have a lot of equipment glitches and stuff like that when the equipment is solely on her person?
I only have a theory and idea. I don't know. And I think that, and here's an idea. Here's something to test. Psychokinetics might have some, something that can affect things magnetically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's different from psychic sense, if you follow me. Like the day we were out at the tunnel, she didn't want to be on camera. She just didn't feel like she didn't have it that day. And when I was trying to mic her with the wireless mic, we were getting anomalous interference. No one else had this problem but her. And right. I think that state of mind she was releasing some type of psychokinetic, emanation that caused the interference. And it could be electromagnetic or magnetic or something like that. But I just don't know. It's, it's an idea that you could test. You'd
right.
have to strap sensors on her and get her into those states to see if you can get anything.
Right. Because, I was thinking, could it be since they're firing so fast and they're processing so much stuff and they're reading so much stuff that's coming in, and most of the stuff's coming in, it's coming into their minds, coming out of their mouths. Mm-hmm. So the energy release that's being thrown into their mind, their energy release is mainly electrical impulses in the brain are going haywire, trying to process all this information. Well, as they're processing, could that electrical impulse actually be throwing just small electrical currents off through their body that are actually charging them to a point that it's altering equipment, just from not really EMF, but just almost an electrical charge?
I'm skeptical of that, but I would be open to testing it for sure. And if you guys want to run any of those, if you guys want to run any of those texts, you just got that MagCheck 95, and that's the best thing you can do. That's the most calibrated, most sensitive sensor that a consumer can get right now that I know of.
Tape it to her forehead and wait till she has one of her dreams and see what it reads.
An EEG would be perfect, I would think, for that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So if you can get that I wouldn't feel comfortable measuring it with a MagCheck, to be honest, unless it was so strong to interfere with something dramatically, like we're talking about. It could theoretically, but just to see if psi was something to do with EVP, for example, I would want an EEG.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I want to go to. I seen that Paul wanted to talk about Morse code. Why don't they knock in Morse code if it's ghost? Do you want to read that comment and we'll address that? And then Mothman's got another question I saw.
He said,
hi, Melissa, by the way.
How come ghosts who knock on walls don't use Morse code to communicate?
Good question. Someone, the excuse a lot of ghost hunters and paranormal investigators use is, they don't have enough energy to do that. So if that's true, you could say an excuse would be the reason why they don't talk to you like we are talking to each other is they can only do it in short bursts, and it's an emergent phenomena that happens in short bursts. That's why it's rare. That's why it's fleeting. That could be why. But that's just a guess.
I have Nelson Nouse on and Melissa Grubbs, and Katie Turner just jumped on.
Hi, Katie. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. We love having you. Do you want to get the... Oh, is there more?
Paranormal reporter said, please stop. He is going to be investigating the old Lycratz County Jail this Saturday. He said, please stop by. I will be sending deadlights to the first 50 people that bring me one.
Okay. Go ahead and read Mothman's question. Get that in there.
Okay, Mothman historian. He said, question I would like you to try to read. Bear with me.
That's his Twitter. He put that on Twitter.
Footprints would a Bigfoot footprint if a Bigfoot foot could print footprints?
Yeah, he had that on Twitter today, and I laughed.
He said, by the way, my favorite UFO investigator, John Keel, said that UFOs would respond to Morse code from a flashlight. Which that's a good possibility. I mean, if you think about it, people have reported, if you go back to the history books, extraterrestrial sightings and beings and UFOs and all this stuff, and even interdimensional beings have been reported all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, and probably even before then. I mean, hieroglyphics tell you that. The Mayans, they had that stuff tattooed all over their
yeah, the oldest temples. Culture is the Sumerians that we know of.
If they've been around that long, you can almost bank on they were around in the time that Morse code was developed. It was used a lot during wars, during different conflicts, and I'm sure they've seen the military use it in one capacity or another and be able to learn it. Plus, who's to say that NASA hasn't sent something into space with that type of communication device built in, sending signals out, and they've picked up on it and been like, hell, they could have even been the ones that invented it.
Okay, guys.
We just don't know it.
If the living conscious state can exist beyond death and it's out there, can interact with us, and they knew Morse code, in theory, it could talk to us that way, right? There's something about paranormal phenomena that I've only saw and experienced and read about and researched is it's fleeting. It spikes and it goes away, and emerges and goes away. It doesn't linger like we would want it to. So that adds to the mysterious nature of it. It adds to its definition, its very definition. It's beyond our scope of scientific understanding, right? So wondering, trying to apply common sense things that's what is hard. That's what makes it so mysterious to everyone, including myself. And that's why it's hard to apply science to it, because you want to get a controlled environment and you want some predictable phenomena to happen, or you need it there to happen so you can study it, and you need it repeated so you can make sure that this is what's going on. And that's why we fail. Okay? Another reason why we fail is not knowing enough about science to apply science to it, and not having enough funding and resource to do what is needed to understand it to its fullest, based on the technology and current understanding of science and physics as of now. Okay, so right now our batting average is very, very low. Okay, sometimes we'll get things that are really strange on recordings, and we're able to document it, but we can't do much other than find these anomalies. Outside of that, we don't know jack crap about what's going on, but we love to have these ideas, and we love to, these blossoming, the blossoming imagination can flourish in this field. Interaction with flashlights have been done in Gulf Breeze as well. That's interesting with UFOs. Yeah, I know Paul has definitely been. I think he's a MUFON. He does MUFON stuff too, and I would love to pick his brain about that someday. That would be an interesting topic for the show. Maybe we should throw in there and have the patrons vote on is UFOs. Do we have anything else that we need to address in chat?
Marlene Gump is on. And Paul said the mechanisms that are given to the dead are a mystery, but the human response still exists.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And I got nothing else.
Yep. And what's interesting is the symbolism and the mysterious nature that, like signs, for example, like the stories you read about, if there's life after death, like someone that's on their deathbed or someone that's in hospice or know that they're, approaching death, they'll be like, okay, well, you'll know that there's a life after death and you know it's me if something happens, and it does happen to them. And the brain will throw out any possibility of coincidence, even if it is coincidence. And they'll try, and the dying person will try to pick something that can't just be coincidence. Okay, this certain rare species of bird of this color will fly into your window. That's the one, if they're a bird watcher or something. Or, I will give you a secret word or something like that. Or something happens that only, was only known on a personal level between you and the other person that has passed. Those things are what happens. Those are the connections and the signs we have. It's not like, they come walking up to the door, knock on the door, you open it, it's their ghost, that just don't happen. Now, the very rare occurrences is when, grandma or grandpa shows up in your bedrooms, walks into your room, sits down right after they die, but before you know they're dead. There's so many cases of this, and they'll say, hey, everything's going to be okay. And it's always like children. It's always at a young age, if you notice. So I think the reason that is because the reality that we accept isn't fully solidified and have this foundation. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you're young, your idea of what's real and not real is blurry in a lot of instances. So I think people communicating from beyond the grave rely on those unconditional or unconditioned elements in the psyche for it to happen. I'll be wanting to research that more, but the stuff I have researched indicates that could be true. MUFON, yes, and now Madar Project Builder. I don't know what that is. I have to look that up.
Now I've got William Bennett joined. And he went back to the alien thing, and he said a civilization that can travel between the stars can simply decode all of our TV signals and just know everything we know simply by watching our TV broadcasts.
Yeah, and they probably are telepathic too. Mm-hmm. You can assume that, so they can easily analyze everything that's in our mind, right, in our memories.
And Mothman Historian is giving a lesson on Morse code. He's typing it out and telling people exactly what it means. He's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mothman Historian is one of those guys that you want around in certain situations. You know what I mean? like if the end of the world comes, he's going to know something that's going to be very beneficial at that time, or if some kind of weird shit happens.
He'll be like Woody Harrelson in 2012.
He's going to open up one of the TNT bunkers at the Point Pleasant, right, and be like, "Come with me if you want to live."
Exactly. Have a big trap door in there, dropping down. I'd be like, why didn't we know about this?
Yeah, that is my prophecy for Mothman Historian. That will happen. The Reds are killing the Pirates right now. I'm watching the game. Sorry, I'm guilty. Can't help it. Can't help myself. But yeah, I love the fact that we're talking about UFOs and Morse code, and that's what this show's about. I want it to be like out there, multiple rabbit holes. I want people's brains to be like, yeah, I think so, or nah, I don't think that's right, and this is why I don't think that's right. That's what I thrive on. I mean, to stimulate the mind in that way I love that. All right. Well, we could talk. We could talk a little bit about. One thing we are going to do a commercial film this year, but we're not going to film till later in the summer, and we're trying to keep the location of it, non-disclosure of it. But there's a few people that I probably want to bring in to help with the filming, production, and the investigation process. We're going to be at this location for 3 days straight, and we're already getting members of the group having dreams about it, and it's not Missy.
Right.
And after the show, we're definitely going to be talking about that with the individual that had the dream. But the support from you guys through Patreon is awesome. But I do want to emphasize that we are going to try to do a commercial film. It's going to be the biggest project we ever done. And it may encompass more than one location in the same town. If you want us to do that and you want it to be as good as you want it to be, please consider, becoming a patron, or just flat out, hitting up our PayPal and say, hey man, I got a little bit of this disposable income. If it helps you out, that's great, but this stuff is just not possible without the support that we get. So I'm thinking about trying to do something through Patreon to help boost that effort. But if you want us to do a kick-ass job with this commercial film, you can help us out. And if you believe in us and think that, we can do a really good job with more funds, then please check out patreon.com. It's in our link is in the description. You can get with me privately through email or messenger or text, however you want to call me, and talk to me about it. But any help is appreciated with that. We want to break through, what we're doing is great, but we want to break through and reach even more and more people. And the locations that we're doing they're not as well known as some of the others, but through our storytelling and investigation, we want to bring you something on film that has not been seen before, that it's unique and, great, something worthwhile, not just something, ooh, look at this scary video. No.
Bill said I know where it is.
Okay. He probably does. Patrons probably get snuck things here and there. And and the patrons will know before everybody else where it is. We'll probably release that information to them. Go ahead there, Derek.
Let's see. Mothman said, "Here's one for you. A significant number of witnesses report Bigfoot and UFOs together. These things sometimes also happen in haunted areas. What do you think of these cases where the parallel lines seem to cross?"
If in fact they're seeing this stuff, it's got to have something to do with interdimensional travel, possibly. If me as a field researcher, I want to go try to do geomagnetic readings at these locations to see if there's any anomalies in the geomagnetic field. I would want to take all environmental readings, see if I can find anything anomalous to kind of help throw supporting data and evidence at that theory, at that hypothesis.
Right.
Because, a lot of people believe that, oh my God, they just gave up a grand slam, so it's 10-4. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh well, we're still ahead. But yeah, the interdimensional thing with Bigfoot, UFOs, and a lot of paranormal ghost stuff, people think that it's interdimensional things. So,
which would make sense.
Yeah. Monsters, spirits, and UFOs don't always seem to stick to their categories. Bigfoot and haunted woods and UFOs flying over commentaries.
Cemeteries.
Okay. So on and so forth. Right. Interdimensional, phenomena.
And so you threw out there about with us shooting later on this year, and how we're doing locations that are not widely known and well known. which I think, a lot of our viewers need to kind of take stock in that, because the locations that we found and a lot of them that we're going to return to in the future, they're not, it's not that they're not well known. They're hidden. They've not been all over TV. They're not all over the networks. They ain't had all these, super groups going in there and putting stuff out.
Yeah,
on,
they haven't been
paid content.
Hollywoodized.
Right. Therefore, they're getting a unique and true experience instead of the Hollywood and the TV, hype that everybody's looking for.
And, one of the goals that I would love to do, and I hope we can continue to do, is return to these places and continue the research, keep gathering the data to where we can have something that we can look at, and compare.
Right. You get, say, 2-3 years worth of data of one location, lay it all out, and be like, okay, in 3 years, this is everything that happened in a timeline. And see how much of that correlates from one year to the other, and how much of it's the same, how much is different.
Because the weather changes, things in space changes with the sun and the planets, people change, environments change.
Right. That'd be cool.
It's pretty much, it's almost laughable to go into a place for 8 hours and to know that, hey, this is thoroughly investigated. So the place that we do go for 3 days is going to be better than just going there for 8 to 12 hours.
Right.
Paul said I should call in.
Where's he working at? Did he go back to his normal job? God, I hope not.
I think he was talking about calling you.
Calling into the show. Okay. Yeah. Well, if you want me to call you, say please call me, and I'll call you. I'm pretty sure I can add your call to Skype. And
Deanna Cordy is watching.
I saw that. She's trying to troll me. She's going to say something bad.
She's just right next door.
And she could be home.
She could be right on your windows. You never know.
Probably is.
He said, please call me.
Okay.
Are we going to take a break?
Well, hold on. I got to see if I have Paul's number in my contacts. Yeah, Paul, hold on. Let me see if I got your contact in my phone here real quick, and I'll try calling you. Oh, P is for Paul. E is for Paul. Hold on. I gotta dial the area code first. Dun, 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 dun.
You're gonna call, and it's gonna pick up a beep. Please hold.
Oh, I just dropped the call with everybody else. So hold on, I might have to add them to the. Paul? Okay, hold on, Paul. Let me add the NDI source here real quick. I wasn't expecting this, so I'm gonna have to set this up. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll just put you as NDI2, and okay, we'll add that, and we'll go audio only. Okay, and let me add the others here real quick here. Just bear with us, guys. See if we can add the other ones in here. Missy, let me know if you can hear me. Missy? She just walked away. So let me add Derek. Yeah, I got Missy back. Just tell Derek that I'm trying to add him back, so stand by. Okay. Tell Derek to give me his email again. I don't have it saved. Yeah. He can send it to me in Messenger. I just need to add it into my Skype so I can just call him. All right, Paul, are you still with us? All right, what's going on, buddy? Right.
Readings in order to kick a trigger over inside of it. It'll actually notify and let people know that there may be something outside in the air flying around that, may be unidentified, and kind of encourages people to go outside and look. So it's
That's
a really
cool.
Interesting project. Yeah.
Yeah, because that would increase the probability of not only firsthand encounters, but maybe they can grab a camera or just pop their Apple and their phone and try to get some footage or some data.
Exactly. And it's great when when things are working well and whatnot, but they've got a huge network set up, and anybody who wants to look at it and see this network of all these boxes. I've got one at the house here, actually. And I've joined the kind of inner circle of the Madar project, and I'm now building these units and shipping them. So it's something I've always wanted to do. And this gentleman, evidently, he's on to something. So, and most of the detection is through EMF, barometric pressure changes, and a couple other things. But, a combination of readings that will cause a trigger effect, and then sound an alarm, and, so on and so forth. But
guys, I hate to interrupt, but Bill said he can't hear anybody but Justin.
Yeah, I'm going to try to see if he's the only one that's having this problem or others.
Yeah.
Just give us a moment. Yeah, if you're listening to the show, please let us know if you can't hear Paul, because I just added his source in, so he should be coming through.
Okay, everybody can hear him now.
Okay, I thought
there's a lag.
Okay. But we talked about a couple of different things in the span of the first hour that I thought were really interesting. And when you brought up the subject of UFOs, that's always been a lifelong interest that I've had, even way back to the days of Close Encounters back in 1977. But it's a really interesting project, and you should look into that and kind of, it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I wish I just had the time to invest in, because
yeah,
once you go down that rabbit hole, with someone with my personality type, I probably would have to abandon everything else I'm doing. Because it's in depth, and it would require a lot of attention and time and resource to your your everyday life. Because people like us just don't do it leisurely.
Yeah, I agree. It does take a bite out of a lot of time. When you're doing a lot of detection work, and it's not like I've had any real hits on my end. So evidently, Clarksville, Tennessee is evidently a UFO safe area where there's not a whole lot going on. But it's just interesting, in general, how this whole system works and whatnot. And so, I just kind of invested in it. You really don't have to do much in it. It's no real maintenance, but if you want, you can. But like you said, with the paranormal, I mean, that's a huge devotion of time. And I was going to talk a little bit about, are aware of some of the methods and some of the things that I do, but what I encourage everybody to do, being as we don't know a whole lot about this phenomena, is to take some kind of an approach that will, raise the curiosity level of whatever may be in the location that you're investigating. A lot of times, you realize you're going into their properties and kind of invading on their territory and space. So, of course, if you put the body back on the ghost, it's kind of an intrusion. So, of course, they're going to take a defensive measure. But the thing is, you can always turn that around by using the right tactics.
Right. And that you definitely went into depth, or you went into it in your book. And you definitely, we've talked about some things that we've definitely incorporated and deployed. Like we took a dry erase board to the last couple locations, wrote down some questions or some things to see if they can read it and get, so far, nothing that we know of yet. But, that's going to have to be used, and, we're going to have to be patient with that. Yeah.
And a lot of times I think the better places to use things like that are low key, like you were talking about before, that, haven't been Hollywoodized or done to death by 4,000 investigators scream, giving me a sign, and all that stuff, because if you were at that location, everybody kept coming into your house day in and day out, asking you to perform for them. Eventually you're going to take that approach of, I'm just going to wait till these guys are gone. So I don't even go into a location and say those things. I tend to, do a background check on what that person was like, what they liked, what their hobbies and interests were. And I begin talking about that kind of stuff between me and another investigator, because I feel that at some point it's going to reach the humanity they still have on the other side, take an interest, and possibly start joining the communications between you and the people in your group. You know what I mean? It kind of helps things along, and it makes them feel like they want to participate.
Yes, I had somebody comment on one of my YouTube videos that they said that I needed to appeal to their vanity more, and that kind of goes along with what you're saying, and that makes sense. Yeah. And we do that, but a lot of times it doesn't make it into the cuts of the videos that we edit. And people, they're behind their keyboards saying a lot of stuff, which is great and everything. Any kind of interaction, engagement on those videos is good, but that just makes a lot of sense. If you stop, trying to replicate or copy what you see in popular culture, TV, so on and so forth, even people, with books out there may be saying the same things, but your book is thinking outside of the box, which is things you don't see normally, but are common sense, at least from what I can see.
Right. And we both know we've read about, the scientific approach and the metaphysical approach and the blended approaches. And I kind of took a psychological approach where I'm just as curious when you die, the things you lose and the things you gain. You may lose a body, but you may have the ability to move at the speed of thought. So that begins to change the way your perceptions are and how you want to maybe navigate or communicate. So,
like a dream state.
I want to know. Exactly. And I want to know what translates. What is it that we get to keep? When we get to the other side, we may have these new things that we can use at our beck and call. Maybe we can go back and forth to heaven, or what, people perceive as heaven, all these different things. And so, if I can go anywhere I want to, what makes me want to stay here? I'd want to visit the world. I want to see all the things I never could when I was alive. But as such, do I still want to interact with anybody? Because really, I can do whatever I want. So what makes me want to interact with you? And those are the things that I based a lot of my work on. I wanted to make sure that there was, like, if I was dead, why would I want to talk to the living? What's the point of it? If I'm passed and I could go to heaven and I could talk to all the relatives that have passed away, why would I want to be here on Earth, stay here on Earth, interact with anybody who's here? Why would I want to stay at a location? So, that's where I base everything, and where I came up with a lot of those methods.
Yeah, you ask a question and you go through the process of trying to answer that.
Absolutely. So, I love some of the questions and stuff I read there. And when I threw that Morse code out there, that was something I always thought about, and things that bother me, like, ghosts have to have energy, so they drain batteries. And I thought, well, what happens if they don't get energy? Do they die a second time? That doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. So, like, if you go by thermodynamics and our current, understanding of physics, then ghosts don't make sense based on what we know. Like, if they need energy to survive, which makes sense based on our understanding of our physics, natural laws, then that would make sense why they need to eat and maintain their energy. But,
Right. But if they don't get that, what's the consequence?
Right. Maybe the consequence is, that's the point. The consequence is, do they die a second time? Maybe they need that to live, on a, in this, to manifest in this realm. Maybe that's the process.
That could be the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be, that could be the reason why, they can't do it alone. They need a kind of an infusion to be able to get the message across better to those of us on this side. So I don't know, but that was something that always perplexed me about, an EDMF. And I'm like, I don't know about that stuff, but I tell you what I think. I really think that although we know a lot of the different forms of energy, I don't think we know all of them. And I think whatever these things are that we call ghosts are made of some form of energy we have yet to figure out.
Right. Yeah, they're in field theory and quantum physics. They explain it that every particle, subatomic particle, has its own field in which it vibrates in. So if that's true, there's probably so many different fields that we have yet to detect. It could be responsible for the psi phenomena, could be responsible for, a spectrum, of things in the paranormal.
Right. And that's the fun of us trying to use all these different measurement tools to figure out if there's any way we can either detect or show that something is taking place or something recordable that they can affect in whatever they've manifested as or whatever. So, it's anybody's guess. And that's why, I've followed the pursuit of data loggers mixed with the psychological approach, because I hope that no matter what, if, on 2 occasions, I actually was, I managed to get something to respond to human thinking. I was setting up in the middle of a room at night with the light off with a group of about 6 other people, and we were sitting in this room, and I said, I want everybody to do something. And I told everybody, let's just be quiet. Nobody say anything. We're going to get quiet in a minute. And what I want to do is I want to go around the room one by one. And each one of you, I want you to make some kind of a sound, a noise, a knock or a, crinkle of paper or whatever for about 5 seconds. And then I want you to stop at about 30 more seconds, about a half minute. Let the next person make another noise, but not duplicating the previous noise. Make a different noise. And I base this on the fact that if I'm in a house and something's going on, and I hear it, I'm probably going to go check and find out what's going on, especially if I can't hear talking going on. So it makes me think something else is happening. And it raised the curiosity level. And this someone about 3.5 foot tall come flying into the room after about the 4th person made their noise. And it was in front of me. It was less than 2 feet away. And behind it was a camcorder aimed down the hallway that it came down. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is, and this, when you record, you've got that blinking red recording light, or at least some form of light that shows that you're recording. And on the camcorder, it was blinking. Now, imagine that behind this thing, but straight in line with you, is the camcorder. So you've got the camcorder, whatever this 3.5 foot tall thing is standing in front of me, and me. So every time this red light blinked, I got a plasma effect from the shadow that was in front of me. And this was just mind-blowing. And so, to me, the experiment worked 100%. I managed to tap into the fact that whatever it was curious and came to find out what was going on. And that's only happened 1 or 2 times in all the times that I've been doing research. And so it was crazy.
So do you think that, a good investigator and someone, it requires a certain amount of intuition about the location you're at, and it's based, this type of intuition, the phenomena could be vastly different depending on where you're at, right? Depending on the entities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because, that almost feels like that, having sensitives and psychics who might be even more intuitive to these things could give pointers with that.
Sure, absolutely. So, with that happening, I've also had other things happen that I struggle to be able to communicate, and it makes no sense what me and another man observed one night with some kind of weird. I don't know how to describe it, but they were lights. They were turquoise and pink, and they were turning in a clockwise fashion and looked like, oh gosh, those little pinwheels, they're kind of like windmills that the kids play with out in the wind. And they were inside of a pillow, and they came up through the material. And anyway, the way everything went down, it was just amazing. Never understood it. There was nothing, no ghosts or shadows or anything. I don't know what they were, but there was a collective of them, and they moved independently of their own accord, and it was just crazy. But anyway.
Yeah, we're going to read some comments real quick.
Sure.
Go ahead, Derek. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the dog just.
I seen Brian chimed in.
Yeah, Brian Lit joined in. He said, "Enjoy this. You are lit, my friend." And then he dropped down. He said, "After my hooded figure experience, I started thinking it was a family member. Could it have been me from the future? Could it have been a family member from the future or an ancestor from the past? Just checking up on me because it just stood there in front of the closet and leaned over my bed in my face looking at me."
Wow.
Yeah, that would and get me thinking all those same things.
Yeah.
In my experience, the easiest way for a family member to come back, if you're not like a psychic or a medium or anything, is through your dreams. And that's the most prolonged, most profound, and way. Sometimes it could be weird and symbolic, but most of the time it's pretty straightforward. And I know it's really hard to tell if it's just the normal dream or if entities, spirits, souls can come visit you that way. What do you think about that, Paul? Have you had dreams that made you think?
Oh yeah. There was a time early on, probably in the first couple of years of investigations. We have 2 dogs here at the house, and there was an occurrence that took place at night. I was going to bed. I hadn't really got in the bed yet, and after I'd decided to lay down, I remember hearing somebody walking around in the kitchen, and I could see the other 2 dogs, but there was a third dog that I didn't recognize, and I thought, did my wife buy another dog? Oh man, so I was getting kind of irritated, thinking, oh man, I got another mouth to feed. And while I was looking at this thing, it literally blinked and was gone. So it answered a few weird questions, like, one, do animals have souls? Well, I don't know. That looked pretty weird to me. So I don't know. And could it have been from the future? I don't know. But that's a nice concept, wondering whether or not we've got an overlapped moment where, maybe the future comes through, times can come through at different points,
There's a lot of things in physics that like kind of like retrocausality and things like that, where, if you look at quantum physics, they say that, the future can affect the present or the past causally. It's in the math, but we don't experience it that way.
Right. And I read somewhere that there's a belief or a thought that all time exists simultaneously, and literally you can tap into whatever because it's happening at the same time as whatever's happening now. And so all points basically all meet to one individual point at some, during the timeline. So I don't know. One of the things that always confused me about the Terminator movies is every time they defeat the Terminator, somehow that future still exists, and somehow they can still go into the past to try and fight to change it.
Right.
So, it doesn't sound like everything rolls forward and changes the future kind of concept. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, it leaves room for the people's imagination to fill in the blanks for some interesting movies and books that definitely doesn't need to make sense. Just if it appeals to, it's entertaining and appeals to your imagination, then why not?
Don't overthink it.
That's awesome. I'm glad that that you have the energy to jump on the show and to keep on thinking about these things. Always like picking your brain and just comparing notes to this stuff, because it's rare that you find, we've said this before to each other, but it's rare that you find somebody that's on your wavelength. And
Absolutely.
And when you find somebody, it's kind of like you wish that they were just living in your town. You can run around with those guys, like Derek. That's why they travel. None of my group members are from my state, and they travel just so we can do that stuff. Derek, did you want to say something? Oh no, he looked panicked for a second.
My phone's getting ready to die, and I couldn't get my iPad open. I'm getting ready to switch to my iPad.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I think about you all the time, and I'm just really, really happy to see you fighting and getting through your current situation.
Sure, absolutely, and my mindset is it's there, but I really don't care, because I'm not going to let it affect me the way it probably should be, and so I'm in a good mind, a good place. I don't have a lot of the problems that I have been having, and I don't understand why, but it could be the power of prayer. It could be any one of a number of things, but whatever it is, I just hope it keeps going, because I'm almost to the point where I've got this stuff into remission.
Yeah. From a lot of the people that with cancer that I've seen that can make it to the stages of chemo that you have, usually end up winning and fighting it.
Yeah, that's exactly my mindset. So that's where I'm going, and I'm not stopping.
And my mother tells me all the time that, our mind was what tricks us into everything happening. Yeah. She says, it's like, if I want to live to 130, I will.
Yeah, it's the human willpower.
Mind over matter, baby.
Yeah. You got that right.
Well, that's another thing that I like talking about with people, of like minds, the placebo effect. What is the limitations? What's the spectrum of that? It's I don't know. It's something that isn't studied by all the people with the knowledge and the money extensively that I know of. I mean, what's the limitations to the placebo effect in your mind?
I don't know. I know that it's interesting seeing some of the studies being done where, two people are given a pill, and one is sugar and one is something that actually takes care of the malady that both of them are suffering from, and somehow both of them eliminate the problem. Yeah.
And it does depend on what's wrong, but I do research that people with, untreatable types of cancer just saying, okay, well, I'm going to cure myself, and it happens. It's not a popular or a widespread thing, but there are cases out there like that. Like the doctors are baffled. They're like, we don't understand what just happened.
Right. And, one of the things that happened to me that I really haven't mentioned much is that they have markers or something that they use to track cancer activity. And there's a CEA number, and I can't remember what that stands for. But mine was at 170 something when I first went in for my first chemo. And it wasn't maybe one or two chemos later, it dropped to almost, I don't know, maybe in the early 20s, just like that. So I don't understand it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And right now it's down to 6.
Yeah. I just think that, your mindset about this whole thing is very crucial. And, I don't have a doubt in my mind that you're going to be fine. You're going to have to put up a hell of a fight, but you're going to beat it. And I think
I agree.
It goes to your mindset. You're doing everything medically the doctors are telling you to do. If you don't think that the doctors are telling you the right thing, then your willpower will either direct you to the doctor that will do the right thing, or direct your doctor to, listen to you and all that. So that's awesome. And we're rooting for you, buddy. And we need you not only as as a person and a friend, but as we need your passion and your knowledge about everything.
Yeah, I plan to share everything I can. I mean, if in a worst case scenario, if something bad happens, I want everything that I have to be out there in the hands of the right people so that they can take it to the next level.
Well, I'm already trying to do that. I'm doing my best.
And you're doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah, this year we have the MagCheck 95. We're going to have Derek will have an O-scope soon, and we're going to have the most advanced, cheap, affordable, portable, voice phenomena recorder that will test certain hypotheses, with EMF and stuff like that. And if we can continue to do that for at least a decade. And, if we're catching anomalous voices and we're not seeing the EMF data align with that, I would love to be able to check that off.
Yeah.
Everybody's just been doing that research. I want to check that off. And just through this show and through our encouragement and through our outreach to the community, there's other people, it's not like a huge blow up yet, but there are people like Nelson Noss just started using the Mark II. And there's Cesar Unzueta in California has just made a Mark II, and there's cool. What's the guy that I had on the show? Oh, I can't remember his name. Clausen. Derek, help me remember his name.
Yeah.
Jim Clausen.
Yeah, he's definitely on the page with that research, and he does it all the time. So slowly but surely, people are getting on the bandwagon, if you want to call it that, and trying to get some data.
Sure, and I love to hear people collecting data rather than just going out there with an audio recorder and a camera and stuff. When you get data, it's hard to argue against data. I mean, there's of course, you have to worry about how you sampled it, how you got it, your controls, environmental control, all that stuff. But the thing is, data is a wonderful thing, man, because data is what it is. And you can sift through that stuff and look for things and discover things. And so, you got to have data. And I love data. So, everything that I do usually has a data logger of some kind. And like, I've got this, remote motion sensor array that I'm working on that's Doppler based. And in the end, it'll be an awesome thing to have, because you can literally secure your site with as many of these little remote units as you want. And if everybody breaches that or something happens, it'll all show up on the base station data logger.
Right. We have some first-time listeners on the show. Why don't you? I know we know what kind of data loggers you use, especially with trying to make sure that your own investigators are not causing false positives or contaminating your field of investigation. Do you want to, talk about that a little bit and why that's important?
Yeah, it's very important. If you're new to investigating, one of the things a lot of people overlook that's very important when it comes to paranormal research is when you record things, or you're trying to catch EVPs, or you're trying to do various methods of obtaining something paranormal, you have to have some kind of environmental controls in place that will help you when people ask you, well, how do you know there wasn't somebody in there that wasn't supposed to be? And if you've got something where you can tell them, well, we've got remote sensors set up and, nobody triggered them, so we didn't have anybody in the area, the particular areas where you're doing research or trying to collect in audio. We used to set up audio recorders and put a motion sensor on the door to make sure nobody walked in and started rambling about giving us false positives. And false positives are just a horrible, horrible thing that is plagued by this field, because a lot of people don't recognize that. They're too interested in saying they have something versus, well, it was explainable.
Well, see, the objective nature is, how do you know it wasn't one of your investigators? Well, I have this data logger here that accounts for everybody, and they weren't in this area that the anomaly was captured. It's all the metadata is there. So that's the important part.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, on top of this, it's great to run around and try and catch things on audio recorders. But, we want to look for new things. We don't want to keep constantly replicating the old things. We want to push the field. We want to do new things and think outside the box, which is something I encourage everybody to do, and, I use different sensors for different things. I've got a group of sensors that data log motion and barometric pressure changes, temperature, what else? There's about 3 or 4 more. And the idea is we're looking for something that probably shouldn't be happening, but is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's more fun in my mind, rather than sitting and reliving my adventure, hour by hour on an audio recording. I'd rather go over the data and look for the sharp points and then go back and find whatever we recorded with, any kind of other devices, and check those times and dates, cross-check everything. Cross-checking is so crucial in this field.
Yes, I preach it all the time. I preach it all the time. And, to validate and to find, supporting evidence that something is an anomaly, you have to cross-check. And, once you start cross-checking and find ways, to do that, you'll debunk a lot of stuff. And then when you weed out all the things you can explain and get down to things that aren't explainable, the more and more you think outside the box, and more you try to push, how to, keep tabs on everything, it's just the better you'll become. The face cams, miking everybody, if you couple that with the data loggers that you build, you're accounting for, did someone come into the room? The cameras can see if they came in the room, they can hear if they came in the room, the vibration, everything. It's like, it'll weed out the people that aren't serious about it either. The more more, you try to stress that this is something that we need to be doing, and it'll kind of make the people think like, well, maybe this is not my cup of tea. Maybe we'll leave this to the Uber nerds, and hopefully they can come up with the answers. Because you say it all the time. The reason why we're so cynical is because there's a bunch of just yahoos out there destroying the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you were saying, sometimes you get those on your team, and I kind of call them, like the Scooby-Doo crew. They get in there and they're wanting to see their first ghost. They're so excited, and they don't realize that it's going to be 8 hours of boredom, quiet, and they just don't realize it's not all action like you see on a television show. And the unfortunate side effect of television, of course, and this, is what they see is what they replicate, and that can be damaging.
Yeah, and and based on our culture, that's where the largest influence comes from the most part. And we're all guilty at it at certain levels. But then when you realize that it's happening, then you can take a step back and be like, okay, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Psychology is huge in the field.
Sure. And I kind of look at it as, and you can say this probably yourself at some point or another during the time that you've had your teams, there are times when you actually have to reel somebody in and show them, you're not getting a bunch of ghosts and photos and stuff. You may think that this dust particle is a ghost, but it's not. And then you got to kind of deprogram them from what they've learned from television, and deprogram, what they've read in books that may be misleading or whatever. And,
right.
To get a good investigator, you need somebody who's really patient and knows it's going to be a long haul.
Yeah, Mothman Historian said 8 hours of quiet sounds like heaven to me personally. But
yeah, I hear you.
But back to what you're saying, and what I was saying is psychology, and you're talking about the cognitive dissonance people, get the stress that, all this stuff that I thought was real, I just got this information saying it's not real. Do I just accept that and move on, or do I fight it? And a lot of people that don't understand that stress and how to deal with it, that's the psychological aspect that I try to educate people on. It's the psychology is so huge, people don't understand pareidolia, how the mind works, how the senses work, all those things we're trying to, teach and unteach at the same time. Right.
I mean, here you are sitting in the dark, and you're hearing things all over in this house as it settles, as the temperature changes and all the stresses, go through the house. The pent-up kinetic energy that's released whenever a house starts relaxing from the heat of a day. And there's all these people that they're not familiar with that because they've never had to listen for that stuff. So, it's a matter of training their ears and training their eyes. And more than once, I've had to explain to people, look, you bought this gadget, but you don't know how it works. We don't know what the deal is with it, but you use it and you faithfully think that because it's stamped with the word ghost, well, that it's legitimate and that it gets real stuff.
Well, that brings up another, that brings up an interesting point you told me about tell the viewers what you found inside an obelisk when you tore it apart.
Oh man, we opened that thing up. And Kenny Biddle was part of this. He had gotten one, and it was literally dissected, and there was probably $20 in parts in there. There was it looked like a barometric pressure sensor, a cheap little display, and just one little programmed chip that somebody put a program on and loaded it up with using PIC software. You have to Google that stuff. But and that's it. I mean, I looked at it, and I've got pictures of one taken apart, and you can just Google up the chips, and they'll tell you exactly what they are and what their purpose is. And it's amazing that a lot of people will buy something that for $100 that you could probably build yourself for $20.
Didn't you say an accelerometer was in there too?
Yes, there was. There was an accelerometer inside as well.
So when you move it, it spits out, something RNG already pre-programmed in there, and if the pressure changes, it does the same thing, and so on.
Sure. There's got to be some global algorithm where you read in those sensors and get your information.
Because I noticed when I experiment around with it, you would get a lot of replicated things coming out of it. If you just left it there on the table and didn't do anything, like, the older models were way more random, but the newer ones seem to have a lot more rests in it. Like maybe it was, more sensor based, like they needed to, there needed to be a showing of something changing in the environment before it spit out what the algorithm told it to.
Right. And so, they become a little more complex. They spend a little bit more money, and of course, then you end up spending even more money buying something like that. Like the Kinect is a big thing right now. Yeah,
the Ovilus 5, the last time I checked, was like around 500. Derek,
oh man,
is that right, Derek?
Yeah, they're if you buy the one that's Wi-Fi enabled, it's like $499. They've got one that's non-Wi-Fi, but it's still like I think $329 for the non-Wi-Fi. Now they've got an international version out, and it's like $600.
Oh boy!
You'll see, I've noticed some new stuff coming out on the market that because I follow a lot of the pages just to see what the money driven part of it and what the TV shows are driving out there that's being built. And there's some things being put out there that are supposed to be communication devices that are similar to a spirit box, but they're made kind of different and they use different parts. They're different in a portal, but they're wanting like, $600, $700, $800 and up for a device that does. It's a plastic box that's got a bunch of spinny stuff on it, and it's got a bunch of cool designs on it, and all it does is spit out a bunch of random radio crap.
And people pay for it.
Yeah.
They'll buy it.
It's on TV,
like crazy.
Man.
It's like crack.
Yeah. And,
I sold
just to let you guys... Go ahead. I was going to say, for everybody who uses spirit boxes and stuff, one of the things that I did as a test is that whenever you use it, if you ever want to know the validity of using it, get everybody in a room together that wants to use this particular gadget, ask a question, and let everybody hear what they want to hear, but don't say what you hear. Write it down on a piece of paper. Everybody's got a piece of paper. And after you ask about 10 questions and you think you got your 10 answers, compare your answers, and you're going to find there's a wide variety of what people actually hear. So it's all interpretive no matter what.
It's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, subjective.
So, what we preach at Interface Death and on the shows that I do is remove the subjective, things from your research, become more objective, educate people on how to become objective. And once you start doing that, there will be less room for skepticism and less room for, for your own psychology to, to impede on actual research.
Right. Kind of removes a little of the bias.
Yes, exactly. The biases and it's bad. It'll probably take 100 years to, I don't know if we'll ever remove. I mean, even in legitimate science today, there's still bias that you can't completely remove.
Sure. And
it's everywhere.
For somebody, if you've had a major experience, something like what I described when that thing came flying in the room was 2 feet away from me, it's hard after that point to keep that bias neutral, because you already know there's some weird stuff going on.
Yep, it goes both ways.
So, yeah. So I struggle with it at times, from time to time. I want to be favored, with something odd, but I can't say, whether or not that's going to happen. It's just one of those things where I'm hopeful. I'm a hopeful investigator. But I try to remain completely as neutral as possible.
Thanks. Ethereal Embers Paranormal says, "This is Brian. I subbed and liked and hit that bell, brother. Thanks, man. I didn't get notified of your subscription through Streamlabs, which was weird. That should have happened. But thanks for subbing." Yeah, I mean, we could probably sit here and talk for, I don't know, a long time. We're approaching the 15 minutes left of the 2 hours we promised. But thanks again, man, for coming on and just having a talk, because trying to fill the air for 2 hours with us, at this point we usually just start, the potty humor usually creeps in, and and
I know.
Because we get tired of science teacher Justin.
Yeah, Paul's like, I better call in and save this show because I know where it's going.
Well, I thought it's a free for all, so I'm gonna jump in on this and see if maybe I can offer up something that might help out.
Be honest with you, I'd have you on every show.
Yeah, when you got to wing it, you know how it is. You just kind of like, well, where we're going to take this ship,
Yeah, I don't worry. Like the freestyle shows, whatever happens.
Yeah.
Whatever we talk about, we talk about, because sometimes it's some type of relief from trying to concentrate on both ends, on my end and the people watching. Some type of relief from the norm is good. If you throw it in like once a month or every couple months, I think it's kind of healthy.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought the first half of the show was awesome. The way we just kind of wandered all over the place. We would talk about UFOs and Bigfoot and everything else. I think that's amazing, and that's really cool that you can just take it where you want.
Yeah, there's a lot of formats for podcasts that do that. They don't really plan. They don't try to stick to one thing. They just let it happen. And a lot of the most popular podcasts just do that. They don't care where it goes.
Yeah.
Mothman Historian says, personally, really cool. I think the paranormal is a subjective phenomena overall. Yes. I can't debate that.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. And
I think I've run out.
Well, yeah, if you want to jump off here, Paul, that's fine. But yeah, it's awesome to always hear from you. It's a pleasure, and, it's very rewarding. And, just again, man, we're rooting for you. We're fighting for you. And we're always happy to hear anything, coming our way from you, buddy. So just hang in there, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll do what we can on our end.
Cool. I got you in my corner, man. I can't lose.
Thanks, Paul. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Paul.
And we'll definitely, in any time that you want the data coming from the voice phenomena research that we do, just let me know and I'll just send it to you.
Okay.
And the data logger stuff that we have, if you ever wanted to compare it with your stuff, just let me know.
All right. And I'll keep you in the loop on all the stuff I'm building.
Awesome.
Oh, heck yeah.
All right. Well, I'm out of here, folks. You all have a good night.
You too.
You too. Take care.
We'll see you now.
All right, bye. Derek, do you want to go ahead and read Mothman Historian's question?
Yeah, he said, would you say the paranormal is more speculative science or a spirituality philosophy? Can we truly categorize something that we do not yet understand?
Well, yeah, you can put a label on it, but a lot of people put the wrong labels on it. It's pseudoscience at best. Even parapsychology is considered pseudoscience by the hardcore scientific community and skeptical community. But parapsychology does a lot of things right. It's not as pseudoscience as a ghost hunter group that learns everything from TV shows. Let's put it that way. If you check into Lloyd Auerbach and a lot of the other parapsychologists out there, Brandon Masulo, all those guys, they're going to send some information your way that's been highly researched and is not, just horse manure. Okay, you have to consider it. So, to answer that, it's a lot of it is speculative, but the scientific method can be applied this way. You have a question, you ask the question. That's the first part of the scientific method. Find and just continue with it. Find the proper protocol to test the hypothesis that you have using the scientific method. If you have to rework your experiment to continue to get answers, do that, but just stick to it. Philosophy, yes, there's a lot of things about ghosts that are archetypal and culturally embedded, and the bias is definitely there, and the folklore is definitely there. But with that there, you got to be able to brush that away and start becoming more objective. Stay open-minded, but try not to have that be an independent variable that impacts your research at its core. EVP research, any type of voice phenomena research, cryptozoology, anything about the paranormal. Just try to compartmentalize all those things, remove the bias, stay objective. There's a lot of things out there that we don't understand, but that doesn't mean that we can't understand it if we do it correctly. Eternal Embers, go ahead and ask your question if he hasn't already. Okay, Chills, go ahead.
Yeah, he said, but he's referring to chills. Now, when we get this feeling like something's there or watching you, is it our human instinct or nature, or is the energies causing this? Is it like a static? And then he also said, is our body causing chills, goosebumps, or is it unseen energy affecting our body?
That's a good question. One or two possibilities to address your question. It could be psychosomatic. Something could happen to trigger a psychosomatic response to give you the chills. Kind of like watching a movie, something creepy, something scary, something really, emotionally impactful in some way can give you the chills. And that's almost like an ASMR effect. Okay, if you've read about that. I think ASMR is auditory, sensory, M response, meridian response. Okay. A lot of people, if they hear certain sounds like whispery sounds or crinkling of paper, they'll get a chill down their spine. And that's closely related to the goosebumps. It's like an ASMR effect. So you look at that effect, and you look at psychosomatic effects, and then there's that possibility, okay, you're walking through a building, you're not thinking of anything scary, you don't hear anything, nothing happens, all of a sudden you get the goosebumps. Now that's what people are asking themselves why they're getting. But I want you to be very careful. If you're in a scary situation, you're in a high sensory situation, you're in the dark, you're looking for ghosts, you're scared, you're on edge, you get the goosebumps, be very careful. Now, I get the goosebumps a lot, but I'm trying to be very careful by not, I'm not trying to be triggered, like by ASMR. But you can ask Missy. Like, I've done some Reiki sessions, and you've seen me get the goosebumps. What do you think that? You think that's just an ASMR effect, or you think that's something else?
I don't know, but I've seen you do Reiki sessions where all the hair on my body stood up and I got chills. So I don't know.
Is that in response to seeing me get goosebumps or what?
I don't know. I don't know if it was, because I am trying to learn if it was from just my response from watching you, or if it was, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, Bill said that getting hot and then cooling down can cause the same effect. There's a lot of different things, but I was wanting to address the two things. But yeah, just be very careful. Static electricity can definitely make your hair stand up, obviously. And, high voltages can do that. Different electrical charges can do that. Definitely.
Kelly McConkey said it could be mirror neurons. Neurons.
Let me see if I can find that.
It's the last comment.
I haven't. Oh, there we go. Could it be mirror neurons? I'm not exactly familiar with mirror neurons. Let me Google it real quick. A mirror neuron is a neuron that fires both when an animal acts and when the animal observes the same action performed by another. Thus, the neuron mirrors the behavior of the other, as though the observer were itself acting. Such neurons have been directly observed in primate species. Interesting. Yeah, I don't see why not. So, essentially what it's saying is it fires exactly when an animal acts and when the animal observes. So I have seen studies on it, but I didn't know that mirror neuron was a thing. They'll stick mirrors out. Like I've seen them stick mirrors out in jungles where primates were, and they're trying to determine whether they have a sense of self and if they're cognitive of the self. And the ones that, look at it and then touch themselves or do exhibit certain behaviors, they will kind of measure the amount of self-awareness that they have. But then they're talking about, they're seeing it in the reflection and it's firing in the brain too at the same time.
It's like that stupid commercial with the emu.
So I'm trying to understand what the application or scenario that would be in a paranormal setting.
Well, like me watching you.
Okay, yeah, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah.
So that would be a psychosomatic response. But it's not a reflection. So it would be a different. It's not a mirrored thing. I don't know. It's almost like it's a mirrored thing.
So would that go along the same lines of when Josh has to shit, and then you have to shit, and then I have to shit all in succession in the middle of the investigation?
Maybe yawning. Like if you see someone yawn, it triggers your yawning response.
That's right.
Well, I'll get back to you, Kelly, because I'm intrigued by that part of psychology. You may be onto something.
She said yes, like when you yawn, other people yawn.
Right. So I'll get back to you on that. I'll look into that further and get back to you on that. That is a possibility. I cannot debate that as not being a possibility. We got 4 minutes left. Do we have anything else that we haven't addressed that we need to? Paul said he had some remark there. And cooling, yeah, sweating and cooling down. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I already addressed that. Thank you guys for answering the question. Helps out a lot. Yeah, that's what this show's about, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for joining our community. I learn as much as I teach people on the show, and that's the greatest part of it. Like mirror neurons, I just learned something new there. I kind of knew what it was, but that's an actual thing that I need to read up on, because that can definitely debunk a lot of different things.
Kelly also said there is also an emotional empathic response we should definitely look into.
Okay. Absolutely. I'm looking into everything I can. Go ahead and read Mothman's.
Yeah, real quick. He said, in your experience, how common are EVPs if you have no background noise and are using a clear recorder with no static? It's hard not to get disillusioned with the practice of EVP over time.
Yeah. When we get something just with a really, really high grade recorder, consumer level, but we're talking about something that costs a couple $100 versus $30. I mean, the crystal clear detail that you get seems to indicate that this type of phenomena is acoustic energy. It's very rare that we get something that we can validate as electronic voice phenomena, something that only occurs on one input and we can isolate it on one input. Okay, that's why we use the RVPR setup. The high-end condenser microphones and stereo condenser mics that we use will pick up that whispery, high-end detail stuff. Like the last one I've been analyzing is the one that I got through Jessica's walkthrough at Rhodes Hotel. The hi, how are you? That kind of stuff. That could explain why, if that acoustic energy was like a microburst acoustic phenomena that happens really close to the microphone, that would explain why we could not hear it, but the microphone picked it up. Or our ears are not very attuned on that high end like the microphone is. Okay? The older you get, if you listen to rock and roll metal, if you have that tinnitus or whatever it's called, the little ringing in your ears, if you have any hearing damage whatsoever, you're not going to hear that stuff. Hell, my wife will sit there and be talking to me face to face, and I'll be like, huh? I mean, our hearing is not as good as we pretend it is. It actually sucks a lot of times.
That is your selective hearing because you don't want to hear what she has to say.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's it. I just think that a lot of times when we hear things, we don't give ourselves time to process it. That goes back to the precognition stuff that we talk about, that everybody has a psychic ability. Sometimes someone will say something to you, you will understand the delay in comprehension. You'll say, what did you say, before you gave your brain chance to comprehend. And after you say, what did you say, you just comprehended it. Then you'll be like, oh yeah, I heard you, but I didn't give myself time to listen.
Well, I do that all the time.
Everyone does that all the time.
Especially when we're investigating. I'll be like, what did you say? And you're all like, I didn't say anything. And I'm like, but I heard, whatever I just heard. And you're like, well, I didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm. Husband syndrome is what Paul says. It's a thing.
Yeah, I know.
EVPs, I picture the spirits like screaming on the other end on the realm, we could say, and then we get a whisper, that could be it. That a lot of voice phenomena that we record sounds like it's distorted or impeded somehow. And that's definitely a possibility. It could be filtered through, either some, different dimensional properties or something. There's something weird going on that does seem like it changes the actual sound, if that's what's happening. All good stuff. Hey, it's 10 o'clock. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for chiming in. If you sit here the whole 2 hours and watch this show, you are a super fan. You are awesome. Derek, Missy, thanks for putting up with me for 2 hours and helping me out with the show. It's much appreciated. I'm going to wrap this puppy up. Thanks everyone for joining this community, for watching the show, helping me learn and letting me, express my thoughts and opinions on all the things that we, classify as the paranormal and everything else. The show that we like to do, the 2 hour freestyle, it's just a good, relief from the normal grind that we do. I promise once I get my workflow figured out with all these crazy schedules that my kids are doing with the sports, I'm going to be releasing tutorials on the research that we do, 101 stuff that I promised to do that people are asking for. If you want to read Paul Browning's book, it's outside the box here. I'll grab the link for you real quick. Thinking Outside the Box, Paul Browning. I definitely would recommend that. Here, I'll put the link in here for you. This is the lulu.com link. I'll put it on YouTube and I'll put it on Facebook. And I urge you guys to check that out. They go onto the Facebook live stream and we'll put that in there. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Next week we'll have the patrons vote on another topic. Maybe we'll put UFOs. I think I've put UFOs and others like cryptozoology stuff in there, so maybe that'll eventually make it. But we have Madison Seminary coming up in June, Fox Hollow Farm coming up in July, and we are doing a commercial film this year. The patrons will probably find out soon what's going on. We'll talk about as a group if we want to release that to them yet, but maybe we'll do a Patreon campaign or something to try to get more funds for that project. I don't know if I'll do that, but just stick, go to these links. Go to interfacedeath.net, subscribe to the mailing list so you don't miss a thing, so you keep updated. If you're watching on YouTube, check out my blog page at Justice Brown Paranormal Research. Check out Interface Death on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. If you're watching on Facebook, jump over to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. There's some stuff that you will miss on Facebook if you're not on YouTube. And Patreon.com, that's where we get financial support and help. And you get exclusive content. You're producers of all of our videos. It's cool. So please check that out. If it wasn't for people like RJ Murphy, Clay Borman, Scotty Fox, Casey Schreiner, Jessica Bias, Paranormal Reporter, Joe Vitale, Heather Elliott, General 7, Cherry Capital Shadow Seekers, The Ghost Guild, Kelly McConkley, and Tony Felosi, we couldn't continue to do it. We need your support, and we thank you patrons very, very much for doing that. I'm going to leave it there. You guys have a fantastic night. Keep on, doing what you're doing. I love you all. You're in my thoughts. Stick around for some, if you're new to the show, we have some video promotions I'd like to show you after I wrap it up here. So stick around. We'll see you next time. Do you have that drive? That morbid curiosity to explore the darkness? Do you have what it takes to brave the night? You do? Good. Dead light. For those who aren't afraid to see
I'm hearing the train.
I just heard something.
It feels like it's train. Non-stop. I don't know why.
I can feel you still dreaming, teeming with eternal will. I can hear you now, pondering, wandering around somehow. We know you're here.
What was that?
I heard it.
That was downstairs.
Are you down there? Not afraid. We know what it feels like to walk in the darkness.